Good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to a rainy Monday edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and I'm back after a couple of days away and a couple of wins for the Mets. In the last 4 days that I wasn't recording, the Mets won 3 games out of 4. They won their second consecutive series, defeating first the Giants on Thursday afternoon, and then yesterday afternoon defeating the Colorado Rockies in the rubber game of that 3-game set. I want to talk a little bit about the pitching performances over the last couple of days and about the games in particular, and a couple of what I'll call rising stars who deserve to be called out for their performances. And I'm going to do that on today's show. The Mets got some really good pitching performances from the top 4 guys in the rotation. And if you go back to last week, of course, you can include the 5th being Jason Vargas with his complete game shutout victory. So that's really 5 days in a row that Mets starting pitching has been really good. And, you know, last week I talked about the consistency in the team not really being able to click and get everything on the same page, where the offense and the starting pitching and the bullpen are all rolling in the right direction at the right time. I think the first step to getting there is getting the starting pitching to be a little bit more consistent from start to start. And I think that's what we saw over the last 5 days. We saw Vargas pitch really well. We saw DeGrom pitch. We saw Wheeler pitch really well. We saw DeGrom pitch really well. We saw Matt pitch really well. We saw Syndergaard pitch really well. So we saw 5 starting pitchers all on the top of their game, and we knew that 4 of them could do it. And of course, the 5th one was Jacob DeGrom. No, the 5th one was Jason Vargas, of course. But it's interesting to see this starting pitching start to pick things up, and we'll see what happens this week. The Mets start a short 2-game set with the Yankees tonight. The Yankees, of course, a very high-powered offense, but hey, so are the Colorado Rockies. You know, the Rockies are the second highest scoring team in the National League behind the Dodgers, and the Mets handled the Rockies pretty well. Outside of one bad inning from Drew Gagnon on Friday night, the Mets starting pitching really held up this weekend. So, it's tough to complain about the results. The offense was there as well, with the exception again of Friday night, which was odd because of all 3 of the Rockies starters. It looked like Antonio Senzatello was going to be the most hittable of the 3. I honestly don't know if his first name is Antonio, but I think it should be. So if it's not, I'm petitioning that his name become Antonio. I think it is, but it doesn't matter. He was going to look like ERA-wise that he was going to be the most hittable of the bunch, but he wasn't. And he stymied the Mets offense. They couldn't get anything going on Friday with Jake on the mound. But Saturday and Sunday, behind Todd Frazier, really, who remains the hottest hitter in the Mets lineup. Frazier was great this weekend. He hit a big home run yesterday in the first inning to give the Mets an early 3-0 cushion that they never let go of. He had a couple of clutch at-bats on Saturday. Just a really good performance over the last, you can sort of go back for a month now. And with Todd Frazier, you got to remember that he missed all of spring training. So he has not had the spring training reps that the other players have had. And perhaps the rust that was there early in the season when we were just so fed up with him and didn't want to see him in the lineup, perhaps that rust is now worn away and Frazier's into normal regular season form. If that's the case, that's great. If Frazier keeps playing as well as he is, that's a good problem to have. I know we all like J.D. Davis and would like to see him get more consistent at-bats, but dude, if Frazier's hitting the way he's hitting, you got to keep him in the lineup, and there's no reason not to. I also have to give Mickey Callaway a little bit of credit for playing Dom Smith in left field. The whole riding the hot hand theory with Dom really swinging the bat well right now and forcing his way into the lineup. I know that the team did not want to use Dom Smith in the outfield, but look, if he's hitting, you've got to, again, just like the Frazier thing, you've got to get him in. You've got to get him consistent at bats while the bat is hot. And if it means putting him in left field and the outfield defense being a little sketchy as a result, oh well, it is what it is. It's nice to see Dom continuing to hit. So I think the two sort of rising stars, the sort of incognito stars over the last couple of days are Dom Smith and Todd Frazier. They've both done extremely well. And, on the Dom front, I don't know what the future holds for Dom Smith in Queens. It's not a promising future because in the meantime, while we're talking about how well Dom has played over the last couple of days, Pete Alonso has been the absolute MVP of this team a third of the way through the season. He is going to be an all-star barring an injury. He is second in the National League in home runs. He is not only a rookie, a legitimate Rookie of the Year candidate, but he's also proving to be a clubhouse leader on this team, which is incredible. In David Wright's first season away from the team, it's really nice to see a homegrown talent stepping in. And I'm not saying that Alonso's filling Wright's shoes by any means, but just filling some of the void left when David Wright retired or whatever he did, moved to the front office, whatever. So Alonso has continued to be a pleasant surprise all season long. Again, we keep going back to the preseason stuff where there was talk about you can't promote him, you can't do it. I've given out game balls and goats for every game this season, and Pete Alonso leads the team with 20 game balls. So the next closest, I believe, off the top of my head, is Zach Wheeler with 8. And so the game ball concept is pretty simple. If you are the player of the game, you get a game ball. And there can be more than one. But just the bottom line there is Alonso's 20 different times, Pete Alonso has been the most valuable player or a most valuable player for the Mets in different games. It's 20 different games that Alonso's been the star or a star of the game. So whether it was baseball malpractice or not, it was the right call. And fortunately, Alonso has been on this team from day one as opposed to, day 16. As I said, the Mets kick off a short 2-game set with the Yankees tonight. Vargas on the hill for the Mets. And in the Bronx, it's going to be a little scary. But there's a but. Tanaka's on the mound for the Yankees. I feel like the Mets have always handled him well. I don't know why I feel that way, but I do. I feel like they've always handled him. So I'm not that concerned about the pitching matchup. About the Mets' ability to handle the Mets' pitching. I am, however, very concerned about Vargas's odds in Yankee Stadium, where I could flick the bat and hit a home run to right field. Vargas is a crafty pitcher. He has the ability to keep hitters off balance with his changeup and blistering 85-mile-an-hour fastball. We'll see if he's able to do to the Yankees tonight what he did to the Giants last week. I know it's like comparing an apple to an orange, but they're both professional baseball teams, so stranger things have happened. We shall see what happens tonight. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I will be back tomorrow to recap tonight's Subway Series Game 1. Until then, follow me on Twitter at Mr_Met. And as always, let's go Mets.